Today we're going to talk about sex. There's some of you who are listening to this who might be struggling with erectile dysfunction or performance anxiety. There's going to be a solution to something like performance anxiety at the end of this episode. But before we get there, I'd like to approach this in a little bit of a different way. I want to talk about the different phases that men go through when they think about sex, the concept of sex, and how that actually leads to performance anxiety. So, firstly, early on, when you don't know much about sex, perhaps you've watched some pornography, but you haven't had a lot of experience, sex is something that you feel that you need to get. Why? Because you just don't have it. It's something you have to obtain. So it's kind of like in the locker room where guys will say, in high school or college, hey man, did you get some last night? Did you get some? This is the level where if you stay here for too long, you end up paying for sex. This is why you hear about a lot of, how would I put it, shady sexual experiences in college, where lots of alcohol is involved, where it sometimes may come across as non-consensual. And I believe that this is because, in general, a lot of men are still trying to get sex. Now, you may be listening to it and you may no longer be in college. You may be a grown man of any age, but you may be stuck in the getting phase of sex. For some men, even when they are married or in a relationship, they still use the term getting lucky. If you use any of these terms, did you get some, did you get lucky, you are still in the first phase, where you don't know how to obtain sex. As a matter of fact, if your current partner, your wife or your girlfriend, was not sexually available, the only way you could quote-unquote get sex was to settle for somebody that you were not too attracted to, and probably would involve alcohol or paying for it. Now, once you've had enough experience with quote-unquote getting sex, you move on to what I call the doing phase. And this is where men become obsessed with the doing. This is where pornography usually comes in. Because you watch pornography and you see people doing stuff. You're not involved in the doing, but you're watching people doing more than you're actually having sex. So what does that mean? As human beings, when we do things, we want to do them well. This is the phase where it's about doing different positions, doing things in different places, doing different types of women, doing it under the influence of different substances. It's the doing phase. And part of your identity as a man eventually develops to be able to do a woman well, to be known as a great lover. This is the point where you start asking her, did you come? Did you come? Did you like that? Did you like that? Like, do you think my dick's big compared to other guys? Do you think my dick's big? What do you think of my size? You're still in the doing phase. By the way, gentlemen, if you have to ask a woman if she came, then I'll just tell you this. She probably didn't. A woman's body will tell you if she came. That's it. Don't ask. You put her in an uncomfortable situation and she doesn't want to emasculate you. I don't care how many years she's been with you. Now, unfortunately, pornography is sometimes viewed by some men as training for doing sex well. You know what that's like? That's like watching a war movie or playing like a first-person shooter video game and thinking that that's actually training for going to war in real life. That's literally what watching pornography and then using it as training for real-life sex is like. Now, you might disagree and go like, oh, no, JK, like there's some positions I learned that I would never have known of. I'd be doing everything missionary style. Yeah, just because watching a video game teaches you how to hold a gun and the right way to point the fucking gun doesn't mean that you know how to use the gun in real life. But a lot of men find this very difficult to understand because you watch pornography so much. But this is the place, this second phase, this phase of doing, this is where performance anxiety comes in. This is where you become so worried about doing things well, or doing things like a porn star, or doing things so that you get a reaction from her about your doing. Did you come? Did you like it? You're so concerned about how you are doing it and how she's going to react to her doing it that you ruin the psychological aspect of sex. If you weren't thinking about how you were going to do sex, you wouldn't have anxiety, because anxiety is an unfounded concern about a future event. You're concerned about what other people will think about a future event, or how you will respond to a future event. No future, no anxiety. Guess what? You can't be anxious about the present moment because you are here in the present moment. You can only be anxious about the future. So, oh no, but I have an anxiety disorder. I feel anxious in the present. No, you don't. You've conditioned yourself to be anxious about the future so much that you put your nervous system in a similar state to that when you are worrying about the future, when you are in the present moment. But anybody who has an anxiety disorder who is not concerned about the future, when they actually become present, they realize that there's nothing they're actually anxious about. They've just conditioned their body to habitually be in a state of high anxiety. Again, no future, no anxiety, but you're creating a future about your doing. Here's the funny thing. So you watch a lot of pornography, you get PIED biologically. Like that's actually a physiological thing as well, because you need to see the visual of pornography you're more conditioned to seeing the visual in order for you to orgasm. So you have one problem right now. But now you've added another problem to it. You can't even get turned on because you can't see the visual of pornography when a real woman is in front of you. But on top of that, you're still worrying about the visual. You're like, oh man, if I don't fuck her like a porn star, my penis is not working. But it's a double whammy, because not only are you worried about having sex with her as a porn star and it's causing your penis not to work, you also couldn't even have sex with her because pornography is not available to you. I hope I'm explaining that well. But you're being affected by two things. Two more reasons why you shouldn't have pornography in your life. But if you're not, I was stuck here for years. I am very, very familiar with this problem. And I will say this. Eventually, the good news is that within Porn Reboot, we teach you how to let go of pornography and simultaneously become great at sex. So you will get good at sex by going through the Porn Reboot program. I want to make that clear. You won't be mediocre at sex. You'll be amazing at sex. You will enjoy sex. Your partner will enjoy sex. But that's not what it's all about. At a certain point, you have to go a little bit deeper, especially if, like me, you want to be in a long-term relationship. Then you have to move to the third phase. And the third phase is being. Now, this is the realm of intimacy. This is the realm of the present moment. This is the realm of, you could even say, spirituality. This is where you actually realize that sex is an exchange of energy. This is where you become mindful of whom you choose to experience it with. What's intimacy? Simply put, intimacy is just deep closeness to yourself or to someone else. You can be intimate with yourself. So with deep closeness comes a dropping of your ego. When you're very close to someone, they know everything about you. You know everything about them. There's so much vulnerability. So there's no need to defend against that person hurting you. So your ego drops. But you know what the ego is in charge of? Doing. And doing things well. The ego wants you to do things well and do things better because it's your what? It's your self-image. You simply want to be deeply present within your lover's energy. There's nothing to take from your partner, and there's actually nothing to give your partner. There's nothing to do. Both of you sexually are just being. And it's at this level that performance anxiety and all these other dysfunctions cease to exist. And all I want to say is that this is the level that every rebooting man should be aspiring to. This is the level where you experience sexual freedom. This is why I'm very critical of people who talk about sexual transmutation and semen retention. Out of the other corner of their mouth, they still use words that are concerned with doing, or words that are concerned with getting, but they also want to sexually transmute. No, it's not about abstaining from sex, masturbation, or pornography. It's not about having multiple partners or your ideal partner. It's about letting go of the ego. It's about transcending all of that. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're a guy who's just like, JK, whatever, I just want to join Porn Reboot because I want to join at the level of doing, you can do that. We'll get you to the doing part. This is for those of you who really want to transcend. This is for those of you who really want to be men of purpose. Why does purpose have anything to do with this? This is where ego is dropped. When you drop all of that, when you stop using your sexual energy to do, your sexual energy can be focused on the things that really matter, the things that are not connected to your ego. Some of you are like, well, I want to do something that's really not selfish, that's not for money or fame or glory. That's the sort of purpose I want. Well, guess what, brother? Your reboot from your sexual behavior can literally be the path to that purpose. Think about it.